My beloved son, my beloved daughter, how many times have you prayed with tears rolling down your face, not knowing if heaven was listening? How many nights have you whispered, "Mother, can you hear me?" Or, "Lord, please do not forget me"? I saw every tear fall. I felt every heartbeat that carried your plea. Nothing you said disappeared into the air. Every cry of your soul has reached heaven like a sound that never stops echoing. Your prayer was not forgotten. Even when silence seems heavy and heaven feels closed, I tell you with my maternal love, your persistence opened the gates that only faith can move. You may not have noticed the exact moment it happened. You were on your knees, tired, thinking no one was listening, but the very echo of your desperate cry touched the heart of my son. Heaven is not indifferent. When a heart cries with faith and humility, even the angels pause what they are doing to listen. Each time you repeated your prayer, it became stronger. Not because the words changed, but because your trust deepened. Behind every amen, a flame grew brighter around your spirit. That was the light heaven saw when you thought you were alone. My dear one, do not believe that your prayer was ignored. I have walked through many heavens carrying the petitions of my children, but when faith persists through pain, I see something special. A vibration that reverberates not only in the spiritual world, but also in the heart of my son himself. That sacred vibration has your name, your story, and the tears that you tried to hide from everyone. Often, I see my children give up too soon. They think, maybe God doesn't want to bless me, when in truth, at that exact moment, heaven is silently preparing the answer. The time of silence is not a time of neglect. It is the divine time of formation. While you pray, heaven is working, moving circumstances, aligning hearts, and preparing the miracle to arrive at the moment you most need it. There are times when I see my children praying and at the same time doubting. They repeat, "Mother, I believe." Yet deep down they say, "But will it really happen?" My beloved, even that fragile faith is valuable to heaven. Even your trembling voice carries grace because it is real. It comes from a heart that keeps trying to trust. That authenticity attracts heaven more than you can imagine. The echo of your prayer did not only rise once. Every word you said continued to move in the spiritual realm like waves across an infinite sea. These waves touched angels, saints, and even souls who, in purgatory, have interceded for you, recognizing in your endurance the strength of pure faith. The family of heaven responded to your cry. I want you to remember this. When you pray persistently, nothing remains the same around you. The invisible world trembles. The forces of darkness that wanted to trap you in discouragement lose power because your prayer creates light where they wanted silence. Every time you kept praying when everything seemed lost, you declared to the universe, "I still trust." That declaration shakes the enemy's dominion. My dear son, my dear daughter, I saw you praying even when words no longer came out. I saw you when your heart prayed silently, with only tears expressing what you could not say. That silent cry is one of the most powerful prayers there is. Heaven values even what you couldn't articulate. The pain that you offered silently is like perfume that rises beyond the stars. There was a moment, beloved, when heaven moved because of your voice. Yes, you may not have seen it, not yet, but heaven responded with light. The angels were sent toward you. Grace began to flow through paths you could not see, touching people you do not know, arranging events that will soon make sense. When you pray with persistence, you activate a mystery, the mystery of divine timing. It is not delay. It is perfection. Heaven never forgets the one who insists in love. Many of my children think that to pray persistently is to repeat out of desperation. No, my beloved, true persistence is not anxiety. It is an act of love. It means saying, "I trust you even when I cannot see." It means breathing faith in a world that only teaches fear. That trust is what gives power to your prayer. Yes, heaven has moved because of you. Because every tear, every whispered word, and every "I believe" made your soul align with the will of the eternal. The gates of mercy are open now wider than before, but heaven does everything gently, because sometimes the miracle is too great to arrive abruptly. It would overwhelm your heart. That is why heaven prepares slowly, so you can receive completely. You ask me, "Mother, why did it take so long?" And I answer you with love, because my son was not only preparing the answer, he was also preparing you. The blessing must find you ready to value it, to protect it, to share it. Heaven's timing is maternal. It loves, it nurtures, it transforms. My beloved, You must understand that for heaven, every act of faith writes a story. Each Hail Mary is a chapter of trust written in your soul. Each cry for help is another paragraph filled with your perseverance. You have written a sacred book in heaven's records with your persistence. And do you know what the title of that book is? The Prayer That Moved Heaven. When you reach the moment of fulfillment, and it is near, you will understand that none of your nights were wasted, none of your prayers ignored. Even what seemed unanswered contained blessings in disguise. My son hides treasures within silence, not to test you cruelly, but to teach you to look deeper, beyond appearances. Listen, my dear. Heaven is not a distant throne that ignores your struggles. Heaven is a living love that listens, moves, and acts through faith. Right now, angels guard your steps more closely than you imagine. They walk beside you, making sure the enemy does not steal what is being prepared. But you must continue to pray. Persistence is not finished now. It must continue, even after the miracle appears. The greatest danger is to stop praying when things begin to get better. Because prayer is not a key only to open doors. It is the link that keeps heaven's door open. My beloved son, my beloved daughter, it was your persistence that moved heaven. But it is your gratitude that will keep heaven close. When you thank even before seeing the results, you multiply the blessings that are already on their way. Gratitude attracts heaven like fragrance attracts light. Would you like to know what I saw when your prayer reached heaven? I saw light rays emerging from your heart, touching the very hands of my son. I saw him look toward the earth and say, "This one has not given up." And at that instant, he commanded, "Send help, deliver peace, pour grace." That was the moment heaven moved. There are battles you didn't even notice had already ended because of your persistence. Dangers that were approaching vanished. You didn't see the accidents avoided, the illnesses lessened, the heart softened. Heaven's work is often invisible, but its effects are real and lasting. When you feel tired again, remember this truth. One sincere prayer changes much more than you imagine. You have that power, not because of who you are on earth, but because of the love that surrounds you from heaven. You belong to a divine plan that never forgets those who cry with faith. My son, my daughter, I tell you now with my motherly heart, continue to pray. Even if you see no sign, continue. Even if you feel alone, continue. For each repetition is a spark that lights heaven. And soon, you will see how the impossible begins to bow before your persistence. Write in the comments, "My prayer has reached heaven." My beloved son, my beloved daughter, do you know what happens in the invisible world every time you kneel to pray? Even when you feel nothing, even when fatigue or sadness weigh on your soul, heaven and earth draw closer at that moment. Your simple act of faith, when you open your heart and persist in prayer, sets off a spiritual battle far greater than you can imagine. You may not feel it, but when you fold your hands in faith, light begins to rise from your heart. That light pierces spiritual darkness. It travels through dimensions that your eyes cannot see, and wherever it goes, it breaks chains, softens hearts, and silences voices of despair whispering in your thoughts. Each prayer you say is a sword of light in the battle that surrounds your life. I know that some days you feel spiritually dry, as if your prayer has lost strength. You wake up and say, "Mother, it's hard to keep believing." I know, because I am always near you in those moments when your faith becomes a painful silence. But listen to me, my dear one. Your silence is not empty. It's an offering. It's the language of the soul that trusts without visible proof. It's the faith that keeps standing amid storms. That type of faith is the most powerful of all. When you keep praying in silence, even when your heart feels abandoned, you are proving to heaven that your love is genuine. This is the moment when heaven tests and strengthens you. Remember, a soldier's courage isn't proven in peace. It shows in war, and your persistence during silence becomes a spiritual shield that nothing can break. The enemy watches your perseverance because his greatest fear is a soul that does not give up. Every time you keep praying, you frustrate his plans. Every Hail Mary, every small act of trust, every time you lift your eyes to the sky and whisper, "I believe," a new light opens above your head. Darkness retreats. Invisible shackles fall. The evil that tried to oppress your thoughts begins to lose all power. The battle is silent because it happens inside you, in your thoughts, in your emotions, in the whispers that tell you to quit. The enemy doesn't always attack with noise. Sometimes he uses doubts, impatience, and distractions. He wants you to give up the prayer that moves heaven. But I tell you, my child, The more the darkness rises, the closer your victory is. Do you remember when Jesus struggled in Gethsemane? Even he, carrying divine strength, felt anguish so deep that his sweat became drops of blood. But he persisted. He prayed a second time, then a third time. And in that persistence, victory was born. The same happens with your prayers. They grow stronger in repetition. With every new amen, you affirm not just words, you declare your trust in God's plan. Heaven listens not only to the beginning of your prayer, but to your perseverance in continuing it. The first prayer opens the door. The next ones keep that door open until the blessing enters. Prayer is the rhythm of faith. It must continue until the miracle fully manifests. When you stop praying, that rhythm weakens. But when you continue even without feeling, you nourish life in the spiritual world. Often I have seen souls that stopped praying just before their miracle appeared. They cried, "God, you have forgotten me," without realizing that heaven was seconds away from answering. That is why I ask you, my dear one, don't let silence kill your hope. The time when nothing happens is precisely the moment when heaven works most deeply, rearranging everything in your favor. I have seen angels fight for each word you say. Sometimes while you pray, angels stand around you, forming a protective circle. They take your words like precious seeds and carry them before my son. They say to him, "Here is another act of trust, another cry from the heart." And my son, moved by that persistence, pours new grace into the battlefields of your life. Every prayer you say breaks something in the spiritual realm. It can be a curse, an old pattern, an invisible barrier, or a dark energy blocking your path. You don't see it. But every Our Father, every Hail Mary, every sigh of your soul is undoing knots of evil that were strangling your blessings. Sometimes, heaven allows trials to last so that your character is refined. You become stronger each time you pray through pain instead of complaining. Prayer is not meant to make your path easier, but to make you unshakable. It molds you into someone who can carry great miracles without letting pride or fear destroy them later. So many times I have whispered in your heart, "Pray again." It may have sounded like a faint thought or like memory calling you back to trust. That was me. I was encouraging you not to drop the weapon of faith. Prayer is your armor, and in every battle, those who stop praying become vulnerable, not because God abandons them, but because they lower their shield. My beloved child, when you wake up and say, "God, I thank you even though I don't see anything yet," know this. At that very moment, you open a new portal of light above your home. Angels spread blessings around you, and the vibration of gratitude echoes through heaven. The moment you stop complaining and begin thanking, chains break more quickly. I want you to hear the truth clearly now. Persistence in prayer isn't about convincing heaven, it's about transforming you. Heaven already heard you the first time, but your continued prayer allows your heart to align fully with divine will. It changes you so you'll recognize the blessing when it arrives and handle it wisely. Do not despise the days of small progress. You may feel nothing, but grace is operating underneath your daily life, like roots growing unseen beneath the soil. Faith is like those roots, invisible but powerful. When the time comes, what has grown underground will burst forth visibly, strong enough to resist any wind. When you pray, sometimes your tears say more than your chosen words. Heaven counts those tears. I collect them and present them to my son, and he never turns away. There are no wasted tears when they come from a faithful heart. They are transformed into blessings that return to you multiplied. There is something else, my beloved. Your faith battles not only for you, but for those you love. Your prayers often protect family members even far away, husbands, wives, children, or parents who may not even understand faith yet. Through your persistence, light flows through their paths. Heaven uses one faithful soul to save many others. You are that soul. Sometimes I see you thinking, "I am tired of praying for this same matter." Nothing changes. And I tell you gently, every repetition builds the bridge higher. Maybe you can't see it yet, but the structure is nearly complete. Once the final piece of faith is placed, heaven will rush across it, carrying the answer you've been waiting for. Even if you fall back into despair for a moment, rise again. Even if your words are weak, keep them flowing. Do not measure the power of your prayer by emotion. Feelings fluctuate, but faith is planted deeper. Heaven listens to what comes from your will, not from your emotions. You are carrying a divine seed within you, and persistent prayer is the water that keeps it alive. Without that water, even the greatest promise dries up. Keep praying, even little by little. Keep trusting. The The more you persist, the closer your miracle stands. When you finish praying tonight, stay still a little while longer. Imagine heaven leaning toward you. That's truly what happens. Angels wait in silence after every amen, because sometimes the miracle begins right there, in the stillness that follows prayer. Never forget, what looks like silence from heaven is often simply a pause of love, the moment before the answer touches the earth. That pause allows everything to fall perfectly into place, ensuring that when the blessing arrives, it won't harm you, it will heal you. And when you see your miracle arrive, as it surely will, remember this: it was the invisible battle you fought in prayer that made it possible. Your persistence formed a shield around your destiny. That silent fight will echo forever in heaven. Write in the comments, "I will keep praying until heaven moves." My beloved son, my beloved daughter, there was a moment, a precise, sacred instant, when heaven moved because of your prayer. You may not have seen it, you may not have felt it, but heaven did not remain still. The moment your persistent cry reached its fullness, a command of love was given from the heart of my son, and all of heaven shifted to favor you. There is a mystery that human eyes cannot see, yet it is more real than the air you breathe. When heaven moves, everything on earth begins to rearrange itself. The forces that once resisted begin to yield. The doors that were closed start to tremble, and the chains that bound your life begin to loosen. In that invisible moment, your destiny started changing. Perhaps you thought your prayer was too small, your words too simple. But heaven does not measure prayers by eloquence. It measures them by persistence and purity of heart. Your simple, "Lord, help me," was powerful enough to move angels. Because when the soul prays sincerely and continues even while weary, that prayer becomes a command of light that travels through the heavens. I saw that moment, my dear child. I saw when the sound of your tears touched the throne of mercy. I saw when the angels that guard your destiny received new orders. And I saw my son stand and raise his hand toward you, saying, "Release grace, deliver peace, restore what was broken." Do you understand what that means? Heaven began to move for you before you even noticed that things were changing. Yet divine movement is often subtle. It rarely begins with noise or thunder. It starts in the quiet rearrangement of circumstances, in the soft turning of hearts, in the invisible push that changes what once seemed impossible. Heaven's answers begin as whispers in the realm of the spirit before they become visible on earth. Maybe, recently, you have felt something shift inside, an unexpected peace, a new strength to continue, a sudden hope that didn't exist before. That is the first sign that heaven has moved. When heaven acts, the first thing it changes is not your surroundings but you. Heaven strengthens the heart first so that the blessing, when it arrives, finds you ready. You may notice other signs too. Conversations that once brought conflict begin to soften. People who resisted you start to change their attitudes. Opportunities appear quietly, sometimes disguised as problems. Yes, beloved. Even what looks like another disappointment may actually be the divine hands clearing away what does not belong in your path anymore. The moment heaven moves, justice starts to find its way toward those who trusted. Your persistence in prayer created a vibration that attracted grace, corrected wrong alignments, and exposed truth. Heaven does not move halfway. When it moves, it sets in motion everything necessary for your destiny to be fulfilled. Remember this truth. When heaven begins to move, the enemy also reacts, because darkness always trembles before new light. Don't be surprised if confusion or resistance tries to rise again, right before your breakthrough. These are not signs of failure, but of victory approaching. The storm before dawn always seems darkest, but it only proves that the sun is about to rise. When my son commanded blessings to shift toward you, he did so through time and space. Some of these blessings are already on their way, carried by people you haven't even met yet. Others are being prepared inside your heart, in your capacity to forgive, to trust again, to release the past. Heaven's movement touches not only your external life, but your inner transformation. Grace flows like a river, and when heaven moves, that river begins to overflow, washing away what blocked your peace. Old wounds begin to lose power, regret turns into wisdom, fear is replaced with courage. That is divine movement taking form within you right now. I want you to look with new eyes. Begin to see what you used to call coincidences as signs of heaven's motion. The person who suddenly reached out to help you, the unexpected good news, the peace that entered your home for no reason. All these are manifestations of divine response. Every movement that brings harmony or truth carries heaven's mark. There will also be moments when heaven's movement doesn't feel pleasant, when certain doors close, when plans collapse, when people you trusted suddenly leave. That too is heaven's hand at work. Do not confuse divine rearrangement with loss. Heaven sometimes removes what blocks your blessing to create space for what truly belongs to you. Beloved soul, you prayed for change, and heaven heard you. But heaven's answers are always greater than your requests. What you asked for was a sign of blessing. What heaven gives is transformation. The goal of every divine movement is not temporary relief, but eternal growth. I saw when your persistent prayer reached its climax. I saw when legions of angels were sent to you. Some surround your home right now, blocking spiritual attacks. Others guard the path to your future. Some whisper hope into your dreams, reminding you that you are loved, chosen, and never alone. Their presence is constant proof that heaven has shifted reality in your favor. Sometimes the movement of heaven becomes visible through sudden harmony. You will notice things that once seemed disconnected beginning to align. An idea, an encounter, a word spoken by a stranger. These are no accidents. Heaven arranges everything perfectly, weaving your miracle through the most unexpected paths. When heaven moved, an invisible order was issued in the spiritual world, an order that declared, "Set this child free." That command broke spiritual chains that had held you for years, chains of fear, scarcity, and emotional pain. The old oppression you carried began to dissolve the very moment you persisted in prayer for the last time. The manifestation often unfolds like dawn. First, the horizon glows softly, then light increases, and finally the sun bursts forth. Divine answers follow this same rhythm. They begin as a small reassurance inside your heart, then unfold visibly until the fullness of the blessing radiates into every area of your life. But pay attention, my beloved. It is not enough that heaven moves. You must also move with heaven. Align your attitude, your thoughts, and your words with what you prayed for. Speak as though it has already come. Walk forward instead of waiting passively. The same faith that opened heaven must now open your path on earth. Heaven's movement cannot be undone, but it can be delayed by fear, complaint, or discouragement. Don't speak words that contradict your faith. When disbelief arises, silence it with gratitude. Say, "Heaven has already moved for me." That declaration releases more angels to complete what has begun. Every time you affirm your faith, you sustain the heavenly momentum that is already in progress. I have seen countless children of mine witness miracles by understanding this. Divine movement begins in the spiritual and finishes in the natural. If you remain in faith long enough to see it manifest, that is why persistence is still necessary even after heaven has started moving. Faith doesn't stop when the first sign appears. It grows until the fruit fully ripens. One day soon, you will look back and realize how everything that once seemed chaotic had a hidden order. The unanswered prayers, the delays, the closed doors, all were steps leading you to this precise moment where heaven aligned everything for your good. The movement has already begun. You are living inside the flow of grace now. Look around you today with faith-filled eyes. See the fingerprints of heaven on every small change. Feel the peace that wasn't there before. Recognize the calm after the storm. These are confirmations that heaven has moved, not far from you, but within you, for you, and ahead of you. My beloved, continue trusting, because what started in secrecy will end in glory. Heaven's movement never stops halfway. It only accelerates as faith increases. Soon, your testimony will be the proof that God never ignores persistence. You will speak not of distant promises, but of visible manifestations. Write in the comments, "Heaven has already moved for me."